Snow fell thick outside the restaurant's glass windows. Christmas bells chimed in the distance. A luxurious table sat with a reserved sign. Candlelight flickered softly. A woman in a red coat sat waiting, her hand gripping her glass tightly. Staff whispered, "He's probably not coming." She smiled faintly. "I'll wait." Outside, a man ran through the snow, breathless, clutching a small gift box. His shoes were soaked through. His breath turned to fog in the freezing air. He opened the door. Every eye turned to look. She stood up quickly, her eyes lighting up. But no one knew the reason he was late would change both their lives forever. Aaron Blake was 33 years old, a single father who repaired heating systems for a living. He lived with his 6-year-old daughter, Mia. She was gentle and sweet, but Aaron carried a constant weight of insecurity about their poverty. The woman waiting for him was Olivia Laurent, 30 years old, a young and successful CEO. She was beautiful, wealthy, and accomplished. But her family was pressuring her to marry someone from their own social circle, someone who matched their status and wealth. It was Christmas Eve afternoon. Aaron had been fixing a broken furnace for an elderly woman who couldn't afford to spend the holiday in the cold. That's why he was running late for the blind date, something he'd never done before in his life. He owned only one decent outfit, and even that made him anxious. Before leaving, his daughter Mia had pressed a small wrapped box into his hands. "Give this to her, Daddy," she'd said with her innocent smile. Meanwhile, Olivia had been sitting at the restaurant for over an hour. She'd checked her phone countless times, watched couples come and go, endured the pitying glances from the staff. But something kept her in her seat. She didn't understand why. Normally, she would have left after 15 minutes. When Aaron finally pushed through the restaurant door, dripping wet from the snow, his clothes wrinkled and his face flushed with embarrassment, Olivia looked up. Their eyes met across the room. And despite everything, despite the whispers around her and the absurdity of waiting so long, she found herself smiling. Aaron hurried to the table, apologizing before he even sat down. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There was an emergency and It's okay," Olivia said quietly. Something in his eyes, a genuine sincerity she rarely encountered, made her believe him instantly. He sat down awkwardly, water pooling beneath his chair. "My daughter, Mia. She had a fever this afternoon. I had to make sure she was okay with the neighbor before I could leave. And then there was this elderly woman whose heating broke down and I couldn't just..." "You don't have to explain," Olivia interrupted gently. But he did anyway. He told her about Mia, about how his wife had died in an accident 3 years ago, about how he'd been raising his daughter alone ever since. He spoke with such raw honesty that Olivia felt something crack open inside her chest, something that had been frozen for years. They had just begun to relax into conversation, the awkwardness melting like the snow on Aaron's coat when the restaurant doors burst open again. Olivia's family strode in, her father, her mother, her older brother. All of them dressed impeccably, their faces set in expressions of cold disapproval. "Olivia," her father said sharply, "we need to speak with you, now." "I'm in the middle of a dinner," Olivia replied, her voice steady, but her hand trembling slightly around her fork. Her mother's eyes swept over Aaron with undisguised disgust. "With this? This is who you're wasting your time on." "Olivia, look at him, he's not even properly dressed." Aaron's face burned with shame. He started to stand. "I should go." "No?" Olivia's voice cut through the tension like a knife. She stood up, placing herself between Aaron and her family. "He stays. If you have something to say to me, say it here. Otherwise, leave. This is my life, my choice." Her family stared at her in shock. They'd never heard her speak to them this way. "This man," her brother sneered, "isn't worthy of sitting at the same table as you. Look at him. He probably can't even afford the appetizers here." "Then it's a good thing I can," Olivia said coldly, "and I choose to sit here with him. Now, if you'll excuse us." For a long moment, no one moved. Then her father turned sharply and walked out, her mother and brother following. The restaurant fell silent. Aaron looked at Olivia, stunned. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," she said, sitting back down. Her hands were shaking now, but her voice was firm. "I did." They finished their meal in the warm glow of candlelight. For the first time in years, Olivia felt her shoulders relax. She felt light, free, real. As they prepared to leave, Olivia remembered the small box Aaron had placed on the table at the beginning of dinner. "What's this?" "Oh, that's from Mia. She insisted I give it to you." Olivia carefully unwrapped it. Inside was a paper angel, hand-cut and colored with crayons. On the back, in a child's uneven handwriting, "Merry Christmas, Miss." Olivia pressed the angel to her chest, her eyes stinging with unexpected tears. She couldn't remember the last time a gift had touched her heart like this. After that night, Olivia surprised herself by texting Aaron. She asked about Mia, whether her fever had gone down. Aaron was shocked to receive the message. Women like Olivia didn't usually give him a second thought. They met again a few days later, this time at a small coffee shop. Nothing fancy, no expensive wine or white tablecloths. Just coffee and conversation. It was perfect. "I haven't had a real Christmas in years," Olivia admitted, staring into her cup. "Everything's always been about business dinners, networking events, maintaining appearances. But that night, sitting with you, even with my family, barging in, it felt real." Aaron listened, his calloused hands wrapped around his own cup. "After my wife died, every day was about survival, making sure Mia had food, clothes, a warm place to sleep. I stopped thinking about what I wanted. But talking with you, I remembered what it feels like to just be myself." Olivia looked at his hands, rough from years of manual labor. Strange, she thought, how she found them more trustworthy than the soft, manicured hands of the men her family usually introduced her to. "Tell me about your wife," she said softly. Aaron's eyes grew distant. "Sarah, she was kind. She made everything feel possible, even when we had nothing. The accident, it was sudden, a drunk driver. Mia was only 3. She barely remembers her mother now, and sometimes I don't know if that's a blessing or a tragedy." "I'm sorry," Olivia whispered. "Don't be. We're doing okay. We have each other. And now," he looked up at her, a shy smile crossing his face. "Now maybe we have a friend." A sudden snowstorm caught them off guard as they left the coffee shop. The wind howled, and visibility dropped to almost nothing. They ducked into a small bakery, shaking snow from their coats. "This is crazy," Olivia laughed, and Aaron realized it was the first time he'd heard her truly laugh. The sound was beautiful. "Daddy!" They both turned to see Mia rushing toward them from the back of the bakery. The neighbor who was watching her waved apologetically. "She insisted we come here for hot chocolate." "Mia!" Aaron scooped her up. "You're supposed to be resting." "I'm all better," Mia announced, then noticed Olivia. Her eyes went wide. "You're the pretty lady Daddy had dinner with." Olivia blushed. "Hi, Mia. I loved your angel." "Really? You kept it?" "It's on my desk at work," Olivia said honestly. Mia beamed and grabbed Olivia's hand. "Can you help me build a snowman? Please." Aaron started to protest, but Olivia was already nodding. "I'd love to." Outside, despite the wind, they built a tiny snowman together. Olivia's expensive coat got covered in snow. Her designer boots got soaked, and she didn't care at all. She helped Mia pack snow with her bare hands, laughing when it fell apart, starting over without complaint. "Miss Olivia, you have a pretty smile," Mia said suddenly. Olivia's face turned red. Aaron looked away, but he was smiling too. That night, as Aaron tucked Mia into bed, his daughter asked, "Is Miss Olivia going to be my new mommy?" Aaron's heart skipped. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you look happy when she's around. And she looks happy too, and I like her." "It's not that simple, sweetheart." "Why not?" Aaron didn't have an answer for that. The next day, Olivia called him. "Can I see you again, both of you?" They met at a park. It was still cold, but the sun was shining. They walked together, Mia running ahead to chase pigeons while Aaron and Olivia talked. "My family is making my life hell," Olivia admitted. "They found out I'm still seeing you. They're threatening to cut me off, to remove me from the company." Aaron stopped walking. "Olivia, I don't want to cause problems for you." "You're not causing anything, they are." She turned to face him. "Aaron, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Do you want to see me again? Are we just friends?" Aaron looked at her, this beautiful, successful woman who should have been completely out of his reach. "If I'm being honest, every time I see you, I think about what it would be like to have you in our lives. Not just as a friend, but I also think I have no right to ask that of you. I have nothing to offer you except a tiny apartment, a second-hand life, and a daughter who needs a mother figure more than anything." "And what if that's everything I want?" Olivia whispered. Before Aaron could respond, Mia came running back, holding something. "Look, I found a 4-leaf clover." They both looked down at the wilted plant in her hand. It wasn't a 4-leaf clover, just a regular weed, But they didn't correct her. Make a wish, Mia insisted, holding it up. Olivia closed her eyes. Aaron watched her, his heart hammering in his chest. When she opened her eyes again, she was looking right at him. That evening, as Olivia prepared to leave, Mia hugged her tightly. Don't go. I have to, sweetie, but I'll see you soon. Promise? Promise. Then Mia pulled something from her pocket. It was a knitted scarf, lumpy and uneven, clearly handmade by a child. I made this for you. Olivia took it with trembling hands. The scarf was imperfect, with dropped stitches and uneven rows. It was the most beautiful thing she'd ever received. She wrapped it around her neck immediately. Thank you, Mia. I'll treasure it always. As she drove home that night, Olivia touched the scarf and let herself cry. Happy tears, sad tears, confused tears, but mostly tears of realization. She was falling in love, not just with Aaron, but with the life he represented. A real life, an honest life, a life with love at its center. The summons came 3 days later. Olivia's family demanded her presence at an emergency family meeting. She knew what it was about. The conference room was cold, despite the expensive heating system. Her father sat at the head of the table, her mother and brother flanking him like generals preparing for war. Olivia, her father began without preamble, we're giving you one last chance to end this embarrassment. This isn't an embarrassment. His name is Aaron and he's a good man. Her brother laughed harshly. A good man? We had him investigated, Olivia. He's a furnace repairman who can barely pay his rent. He has a child from a previous marriage. He has debt. He has nothing. And you're willing to throw away everything, our family name, your position in the company, for what? For some fantasy of domestic bliss? He's more of a man than anyone you've ever introduced me to, Olivia shot back. Her mother's face twisted with anger. We didn't raise you to be a fool. That man is using you, can't you see? He sees a wealthy woman an easy target. He'll bleed you dry, and then where will you be? He doesn't know how much money I have, Olivia said quietly. I haven't told him anything about the company or my trust fund. He likes me for me. When was the last time you could say that about anyone in your circle? Her father stood up abruptly. Enough. Here's the situation. You will end all contact with this man, effective immediately. You will make a public appearance with Christopher Reynolds this weekend. He's from the Reynolds banking family. And you will begin the process of repairing your reputation. Or what? Or you will be removed from your position as CEO. Your trust fund will be frozen. Your apartment, your car, everything the family provides will be revoked. You will be cut off completely. The room fell silent. Olivia looked at each of them in turn. These people who were supposed to love her, support her. Instead, they were treating her like a business asset, something to be managed and controlled. Is that your final word? She asked. It is, her father said coldly. Olivia stood up slowly. Then I guess I'll be packing my things. Her mother gasped. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. Olivia, her brother shouted, think about what you're giving up. I have thought about it, she said, her voice shaking but determined. And I'd rather have one honest day with Aaron and Mia than a lifetime of this. She gestured around the cold, sterile conference room. This isn't love. This isn't family. It's a prison. She walked out, her head held high even as her hands trembled. That evening, she found herself standing outside Aaron's apartment building. She hadn't called ahead. She wasn't sure what she was doing there, but she needed to see him. When Aaron opened the door, his face flooded with concern. Olivia, are you okay? She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Aaron pulled her inside immediately. In his small, warm living room with Mia coloring quietly in the corner, Olivia told him everything. The ultimatum, the investigation, the threats. Aaron's face grew darker with each revelation. I'm so sorry, Olivia whispered. I've brought nothing but trouble into your life. Stop, Aaron said firmly. He took her hands in his. Listen to me. I don't care what your family thinks. I don't care about their investigation or their threats. The only thing I care about is whether you're happy. Are you happy with us? Yes, Olivia breathed. More than I've ever been. Then that's all that matters. Mia had stopped coloring and was watching them with wide eyes. Is Miss Olivia sad? A little bit, sweetie. Mia climbed down from her chair and came over, hugging Olivia's legs. Don't be sad. You can stay with us. Olivia laughed through her tears, picking Mia up. Thank you, sweetheart. The moment was shattered by harsh knocking on the door. Aaron frowned and opened it. Olivia's family stood in the hallway, her father's face red with fury. Olivia, you're coming with us, now! No, I'm not. Her father tried to push past Aaron. Get out of my way. Aaron stood his ground, blocking the doorway. This is my home. Olivia is my guest, and you need to leave. How dare you? Olivia's mother hissed. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Mia, frightened by the raised voices, clung to Aaron's leg. Olivia immediately moved to shield her, putting herself between the little girl and her family. Look at you, her brother sneered, playing house with this man's child. It's pathetic. What's pathetic, Aaron said, his voice low and controlled, is that you can't see how lucky you are to have Olivia as a daughter and sister. She's kind, intelligent, brave, and you're treating her like property. She is not your concern, her father growled. She's not yours either. Not anymore. Aaron looked at Olivia. Tell them. Olivia took a deep breath. She was still holding Mia, the little girl's arms wrapped around her neck. She looked at Aaron, standing tall despite being outnumbered, despite the obvious wealth gap, despite everything. And she knew. I choose them, she said clearly. I choose Aaron and Mia. I choose a life where people care about each other more than they care about status or money. I choose love. Her mother's face went pale. If you walk away now, there's no coming back. I know. You'll have nothing, her father said. I'll have everything that matters. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Olivia's father turned sharply and walked away. Her mother followed, shaking her head in disgust. Her brother paused at the doorway. You're making the biggest mistake of your life, he said. No, Olivia replied. I'm finally making the right choice. After they left, the apartment fell silent except for Mia's quiet crying. Olivia held her tighter, and Aaron wrapped his arms around both of them. What happens now? Aaron asked softly. I don't know, Olivia admitted, but we'll figure it out together. The next few weeks were the hardest of Olivia's life. True to their word, her family cut her off completely. She was removed from her position as CEO. Her trust fund was frozen. Her apartment was legally owned by the family trust, so she had to leave. Aaron opened his door without hesitation. Stay with us. It's not much, but it's perfect, Olivia said and meant it. Mia was thrilled to have Olivia staying with them. She gave up her small bedroom without complaint. You need it more than me, Miss Olivia. I can sleep with Daddy. Absolutely not, Olivia said. I'll take the couch, and please just call me Olivia. Can I call you something else? Mia asked shyly. Like what? The little girl whispered something in Olivia's ear. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. She nodded, unable to speak. Living with Aaron and Mia was an adjustment. Olivia had never cooked for herself. She'd always had chefs or eaten at restaurants. Her first attempt at making dinner resulted in burned pasta and smoke alarms. It's okay, Aaron laughed, opening windows to clear the smoke. We'll teach you. Mia giggled. I can cook better than you, Olivia. I don't doubt it, sweetie. Slowly, Olivia learned how to do laundry without turning everything pink, how to navigate the bus system because she no longer had a car, how to grocery shop with coupons and plan meals around what was on sale. Skills she'd never needed before became essential. But she also learned other things. The joy of reading bedtime stories to Mia every night. The satisfaction of fixing a leaky faucet with Aaron's patient guidance. The warmth of eating dinner together at a small table, talking about their days. One evening, Aaron came home to find Olivia and Mia covered in flour, attempting to make cookies. What happened here? He asked, trying not to laugh. We're baking, Mia announced proudly. The recipe was more complicated than I thought, Olivia admitted, flour in her hair. Aaron rolled up his sleeves. Let me help. Together, the three of them finished the cookies. They were lumpy and oddly shaped, some burned, some undercooked, but they tasted like love. Olivia surprised everyone, including herself, by using her business skills to start a small consulting company. She worked from the apartment, helping small businesses improve their operations. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. And Aaron helped her understand the needs of working-class clients in a way her privileged education never had. You have to think about their reality, Aaron explained one evening as they worked together on a proposal. They can't afford fancy software or expensive consultants. They need practical solutions that won't break their budget. Olivia listened and learned. Her new company slowly began to grow. Small businesses appreciated her down-to-earth approach, so different from the corporate consultants who usually ignored them. One night, as they were cleaning up after dinner, Mia asked the question that had been hanging in the air for weeks. Are you and Daddy going to get married? Aaron nearly dropped the plate he was holding. Olivia froze. Mia, Aaron said gently, that's a very personal question. But I want to know. All my friends have mommies and daddies. I want that too. Olivia knelt down to Mia's level. Is that what you want? For me to be your mommy? Mia nodded seriously. You already act like a mommy. You read to me and help with homework and make me eat vegetables. You're just not called my mommy yet. Olivia looked at Aaron over Mia's head. His eyes were soft, hopeful, scared. Your daddy and I, Olivia said carefully, we care about each other very much. And I love you, Mia, but getting married is a big decision. We need time. How much time? Mia asked. Aaron laughed. Give us a little while, okay? We'll figure it out. Later that night after Mia was asleep, Aaron and Olivia sat together on the tiny balcony. The city lights twinkled in the distance. It was cold, but they shared a blanket. I meant what I said to Mia, Olivia said quietly. I do love her. And she hesitated. I love you too, Aaron. Aaron turned to look at her. You don't have to say that. I know, but it's true. These past few weeks, living here with you and Mia have been the happiest of my life. I don't miss my old life at all. Not the money, not the status, not any of it. Olivia, Aaron said seriously, you need to be sure. Because once we go down this path, once we become a real family, there's no going back. Mia will get attached. Hell, I'm already attached. If you change your mind later, I won't change my mind, Olivia said firmly. I've spent my whole life making decisions based on what other people wanted. This is the first decision I've made with my whole heart. I want to be here with you, with Mia. I want this to be my family. Aaron kissed her then, gentle and sweet. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling. So, Aaron said, does this mean you'll accept my extremely unromantic, sitting on a balcony, no ring involved proposal? Olivia laughed. You haven't actually proposed. Marry me, Olivia. Not because it makes sense or because of some business arrangement. Marry me because we love each other and because we want to build a life together. Yes, Olivia whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Inside, they heard a small voice. I heard that. We're getting married. They both laughed. Mia had been listening the whole time. 6 months later, everything had changed. Yet nothing fundamental had changed at all. Olivia's family business faced a major scandal. Investigations revealed years of financial fraud and tax evasion. The empire her father had built was crumbling. Ironically, Olivia received a desperate call from her brother, begging her to come back and help save the company. She sat at the small kitchen table, phone in hand, Aaron and Mia watching her carefully. What are you going to do? Aaron asked. Olivia looked around the tiny apartment, at the refrigerator covered in Mia's drawings, at the second-hand furniture they'd carefully chosen together, at the stack of bills they worked together to pay each month, at this life they'd built from nothing. I'm going to say no, she said simply. She called her brother back. I'm sorry for what you're going through, but I can't help you. I have a life here now, a real life, and I'm not giving it up. You're a fool, her brother said bitterly before hanging up. Maybe she was, but she was a happy fool. That evening, Aaron came home from work to find Olivia and Mia decorating the apartment. Paper chains hung from the ceiling. Hand-drawn pictures covered every wall. What's all this? He asked. We're making it official, Mia announced. Olivia's staying forever, so we need to make the apartment pretty enough for a mommy. Aaron's throat tightened. Is that right? Olivia walked over to him, paint on her cheek, happiness in her eyes. If you'll have me, he pulled her close, every single day. Later, when Mia was supposed to be in bed, she called out for them. They went to her room together, and she held up a piece of paper. I drew a picture. Look, it showed 3 stick figures holding hands. Above them, in Mia's careful handwriting, Daddy, Mia, Mommy, Olivia. Olivia pressed her hand to her mouth, tears spilling over. She sat on the edge of Mia's bed and pulled the little girl into a fierce hug. Thank you, baby. Thank you for letting me be your mommy. You were always my mommy, Mia said matter-of-factly. We just made it official now. After Mia fell asleep, Aaron and Olivia stood in the doorway of her room, watching her breathe softly. Are you happy? Aaron asked quietly. Olivia leaned her head on his shoulder. I didn't know I could be this happy. I spent so many years chasing things that didn't matter. Success, approval, status, and all along this was what I needed. A family, love, a place where I belong not because of what I can do or what I'm worth, but just because I'm me. You belong here, Aaron said. You've always belonged here. From the moment you waited for me in that restaurant instead of leaving, I think some part of me knew. Knew what? That you were going to change my life. That you were going to be the person who made our family complete. Olivia turned to face him. I was so scared that night. Scared you wouldn't show up. Scared you would show up and disappoint me. Scared of what my family would think. But the truth is, waiting for you was the best decision I ever made. Even with everything you lost? I didn't lose anything that mattered. I gained everything that does. They stood there in the quiet apartment, listening to the sounds of the city outside, the soft sound of Maya's breathing, the beating of their own hearts. This wasn't the life Olivia had planned. It wasn't the life anyone would have predicted for her. But it was the life she'd chosen, and she would choose it again and again every single day, because this was home. Not the apartment, not the city, but these two people, this makeshift family built on love and trust and the courage to choose happiness over expectation. On Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year after their first date, Aaron, Olivia, and Mia sat together decorating their small Christmas tree. Outside, snow fell gently. Inside, everything was warm and bright and full of love. Make a wish, Mia said, closing her eyes tight. But Olivia didn't need to wish for anything. She had everything she'd ever wanted right here. Welcome home indeed. If you believe stories of healing like this deserve to be told, please leave a comment and subscribe to Strong Dad Stories. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten.